Alright, I'm going to be working on the 68 today. I'm going to get the whole inside painted today, the dash, all that. After that, we're going to work on wiring and start doing all the small stuff on it to hopefully get it running in this video. But stay tuned for that. I did get the headlights in, all the grill trim. Looks pretty cool. I got the radiator mounted in here also. I just used them little rubbers down there, and then I made a aluminum bracket and bolted it down. I used the existing bolt that holds the shroud to the radiator. But I put a little rubber washer in here too to just help isolate it. I still got to mount the transmission cooler. I'm thinking about mounting it down in this area. We'll see. But yeah. Also got the brake booster on. I still got to buy a new master cylinder for it. And I've also been working on the gas pedal. Other headers I had on here that went up and down like this, they're not going to work because they're hitting the brake booster and they're real close to the battery tray. So I'm going to go ahead and run these. They don't look very good, but they fit, so that's all that matters for now. I got it all cleaned up and I'm going to tape everything up and start painting. Alright, I got the whole inside painted. Well, most of the inside. I still got to do that. I ran out of paint. I'm just probably going to throw another coat on it and that'll be done. Transmission cooler mounted. Made some little brackets for it. Down there. I got the column in. I think it's where it goes. It's an aftermarket column and it ain't marked or anything where it goes, so I think that's pretty close to factory location. If not, we can move it a little bit. But also got the throttle figured out. Was able to bend a stock rod to make it work. So. And I got my power steering line on. I still got to do the return and then block the other side off. Once that's done, I guess wiring next. Alright, we pulled the bed off, so to make it a little easier to get to everything, we got to do the filler neck for the fuel tank, the mini spool, fill the rear end full of fluid, and put the shocks on. That's pretty much it. Just we did that to make it a little easier. Here's how I did my fuel tank. It was just a fuel cell we had. I don't remember the exact dimensions of it, but I had to take the back crossmember here. It was about up here, and moved it back, and then took out that little small one that ran in here, and then added a piece of angle iron right there, bolted it in, and then I put rubber and then made some straps for it. And then for the filler neck, I just took a water neck off of a small block Chevy, it's the iron one, and made a plate to go underneath of it and put rubber and bolted it to it for the filler neck, so it should work out good. That's how I ran my fuel lines. I didn't want the tank in the back of the cab. Dangerous and exhaust fumes and all that. I did put, it's got a 3.5 lowering kit on it. The coil springs back here, my buddy gave me them. They were off his Chevelle. They were like 1-inch lowering springs for a Chevelle, which is about 3 inches for a truck. And then I put a 2-inch block under it, so that's about 5 inches. And the front was just 3-inch lowering coil springs. These are just Amazon 3.5 lowering kit shocks. So, nothing special. Alright, I finally got it in after way too long. I had to do a whole bunch of grinding on it to make it fit, but we'll see how it holds. Alright, I got the rear end all back together. Shocks on, full fluid, mini spool in, all that. Here's where I'm at with the fuel tank, the filler neck. I just added a longer hose, that way I can put a hose clamp on it out here, underneath the bed. And this is gonna be the vent. I double hose clamped it all just to be sure. I don't want no leaks. So we're gonna get the bed thrown back on, and then I got a piece of pipe down there. I gotta cut the length, and then it's gonna hook from this hose to another rubber hose, however long it needs to be. Here's kind of what I did. It's kind of angled up, so I'm gonna have to put something up here to either push it down or wrap something to bolt it to the frame to pull it down. Hopefully it's gonna work. We're gonna find out when I go to fill it up for the first time. So here's the top side. That. So. It looks pretty clean. I was originally gonna put one in the taillight right here, but that whole kit was like 300 something bucks, and I didn't really want to cut on the bed because it's pretty much a perfect bed for as old as it is. So I didn't even want to cut a hole in the floor, but that's gonna be the simplest thing. But we're gonna see how it does. Hopefully it works out good. I'm gonna go ahead and try to tackle this part. I got the low car shifter kit, just a cable, gets rid of all the linkage. Alright, I got that all on. Looks alright. Works pretty good. Little stiff, but I got it on down there too. It's definitely a lot better than that column, the old linkage and all that. Simpler. I got the steering shaft on. I still got to bolt it all in and touch up the paint. But I had to drill out the plastic they had in there from the factory and collapse it a little bit to make it work. But it's on, just gotta put all the bolts in it tomorrow. Drill a hole. I gotta drill a hole up there to put a bolt in it because it did not have one. Column didn't. But I'm not really lacking a whole lot, just pretty much wiring. I keep saying that, but I keep putting it off because I don't like it. But wiring and just a handful of other things, and then I think we'll be able to start it and drive it around the yard. So, but everything in the rear end is done. The spool, the fluid, everything. The bed's bolted on. I still got to wire up the taillights. That's part of the wiring. A seat. I got a seat I'm going to use for now. It's not very nice, but it's going to work. Place to sit down. Steering wheel. I got to get a master cylinder. Still, we're supposed to go up there to get it tomorrow. We'll see. Once that's on, bleed all the brakes. I gotta align it the best I can and just grease everything, double check everything, and wiring. All right, so when we first start up, it's just hot wired, but got a rag up in here. It's good. It's time to pick up. It's good to get all over the motor. I need to get it in the bowl for the bullet. It's gonna take a minute to fill up. I got it running. Sounds awesome. We still got to do all the wiring. I just kind of hot wired it. I have been working on the wiring. It's all underneath there. I'm working on the gauges too. I don't trust the factory ones, so I'm putting these in it. I got the steering shaft hooked up, power steering lines. I got the new brake master cylinder. Just got to put it on and finish the brakes. Yeah, still just wiring and a handful of other things, and I think we could drive it. I did pull it around the yard earlier just so I could wash it and move it. I am going to have to rebuild the carburetor. I figured I was going to have to. It's been sitting for several years. It idles good, but when you start giving it a bunch of gas, it wants to cut out and all that. But yeah, that's probably all I'm going to put in this video. We did get the Suburban done. He was able to get in the computer, and so it's done and gone. We do have the red OBS back now. He was driving it. It left here great, and the more he drove it, the worse it started running. So we're thinking a wiring harness issue, or just something not working right. So we're gonna check that out and see what the deal is with that. Hopefully it's something simple. Worst comes to worst, I'm gonna be building a new wiring harness because that was kind of a cheaper harness we used on it. And we hear good and bad about them, so we don't really know. But we're hoping we don't have to, but we'll see. But that's gonna be all for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.